The Queen's private quarters were not marked on any map. They didn't appear in architectural schematics, security blueprints, or orbital scans of the palace station. Even among the inner court, their location was referred to only in metaphor, behind the last wall, beyond the quiet corridor, where the crown breathes. Everyone knew they existed. No one admitted knowing where. That was why Commander Elias Wren knew something had gone terribly wrong the moment he was summoned there. The summons did not come through official channels. No aides. No seals. No ceremonial delay. His wrist implant pulsed once, hard, unmistakable, and displayed a single line of text in neutral system font. Come alone.
Now.
No signature. No clearance code. But the implant unlocked corridors that should not have opened for him, and that alone told him who was calling. Elias left his command post without explanation, trusting that discipline and fear would keep anyone from asking questions. The palace station of Aurelian Prime rotated slowly around its star, a ring of light and shadow visible through the transparent alloy walls. Outside, fleets hung in orderly formations, guardians of an empire that spanned 12 sectors and ruled nearly 1 trillion lives. Inside, the corridors grew quieter the deeper he went. Sound dampening increased. Lighting softened. Surveillance nodes thinned, then vanished entirely. Even the air changed, filtered, warmer, faintly scented with something organic and old. He passed a door that had never opened in recorded history. It opened now. The Queen's private quarters were not lavish. That was the first surprise. There were no towering holograms, no displays of wealth or conquest. The room was vast but restrained, shaped more like a sanctuary than a throne room. Walls curved inward, etched with faint constellations that glowed softly, mapping stars long dead. The floor was smooth stone, not synthetic, but quarried from a planet that no longer existed. At the center of the chamber stood a single table of dark crystal, and behind it sat Queen Caroline Vera. She was not wearing a crown. That was the second surprise. Her silver-white hair fell loose around her shoulders, threaded with age and wisdom in equal measure. Her robe was simple, almost austere, its fabric shifting subtly with her breathing. Only her eyes, bright, sharp, endlessly watchful, reminded Elias that this woman ruled the most powerful civilization humanity had ever known. "You came quickly," she said. He dropped to one knee instantly, fist to chest. "Always, Your Majesty." "Stand," she replied. "Titles are unnecessary here." Elias obeyed, unease settling into his bones. No one stood in the Queen's private quarters unless invited to do so. Fewer still were told to abandon formality. That meant this was not a ceremony. This was a problem. "You are wondering why you are here," Caroline said, rising from her chair. She moved with a controlled grace that made the room feel smaller, as if the walls themselves leaned in to listen. "Yes," Elias answered honestly. "Good," she said. "That means you still understand fear." She gestured, and the table came alive, projecting a rotating image of a man suspended in stasis light. Human. Early 30s. No insignia. No implants visible. Elias frowned. "I don't recognize him." "You aren't supposed to," the Queen replied. "He does not exist in our records." The image shifted, zooming in on the man's eyes. "They call him Kale Maris," Caroline continued. "He was found 3 days ago inside a restricted orbital zone that no civilian vessel can access." Elias's pulse quickened. "An infiltrator?" "No," she said softly. "A listener." The word landed heavily between them. Listeners were myths, ghosts in the data streams, rumored figures who could perceive echoes in space-time itself. Intelligence services dismissed them as conspiracy lore. The Queen did not. "He claims," Caroline went on, that he heard something coming from the station. Something old. Something buried. She turned to face Elias fully. He claims it is speaking again. Silence stretched. Elias chose his words carefully. And you brought him here? I brought you here, the queen corrected. Because if what he says is true, I cannot trust my court, my admirals, or even my heirs. Her gaze hardened. I need someone who has never wanted the throne. The weight of the statement pressed down on him. You want me to interrogate him? Elias asked. Caroline shook her head once. I want you to live in my private quarters, she said. Elias stared. Your Majesty, you will be my shadow, she continued, unperturbed. My witness. My silence. You will hear what I hear, see what I see, and decide whether the empire I built deserves to survive what is coming. The stars etched into the walls pulsed faintly, as if in agreement. Once you cross that threshold, Caroline said quietly, there will be no return to who you were. Elias felt the invisible door behind him seal shut. I understand, he said. The queen studied him for a long moment, then inclined her head. Good, she said. Then welcome to the most dangerous room in the empire. And far beneath the palace station, in chambers no one remembered building, something ancient shifted in its sleep. Elias learned the first truth about the queen's private quarters within the first hour. They listened. Not in the way machines listened, no sensors, no blinking indicators, but in a deeper, subtler fashion. The walls absorbed sound too perfectly. Footsteps vanished. Breathing softened. Even thoughts seemed to slow, as if the room encouraged reflection and punished panic. Caroline watched him notice. You feel it, she said, seating herself once more at the crystal table. Yes, Elias admitted. It's quiet. Too quiet. The station was built around this chamber, she replied. Layer by layer. Generation by generation. Every emperor before me added defenses, distractions, lies. She gestured vaguely upward. The court believes this is merely where I sleep and retreat. A place of solitude. And it isn't? Elias asked. Caroline's smile was thin. I do sleep here. That much is true. She touched the table, and the image of Kale Maris reappeared, still suspended in pale stasis light, eyes closed, expression calm. You will stay in the adjoining quarters, she said. No external communication. No logs. No reports. That will raise questions. Yes, she said simply. Let them ask. Elias hesitated. And the man? He wakes when I say so. The queen rose again and walked toward a wall that appeared solid until her presence caused it to unfold like petals. Beyond it lay a narrow passage, dimly lit, curving gently out of sight.
Come, she said.
They walked. The passage led deeper than Elias thought possible. The station's gravity shifted subtly, reorienting without sensation. The air grew cooler. The scent changed, metal and ozone layered over something older, like dust sealed for centuries. At the end of the passage was another chamber, smaller, circular, and unmistakably ancient. The walls were not alloy. They were stone, dark, pitted, and carved with symbols that predated known written language. At the center stood a column of translucent crystal, cracked down one side. Within it floated Kale Maris. Elias felt it then. A pressure behind his eyes. A hum beneath his thoughts. By the stars, he whispered. He hears it even now, Caroline said. Even in stasis. What is it? Elias asked. The queen placed a hand against the crystal. We call it the resonance vault, she said, because no one remembers what it was called before. Her voice softened, just slightly. It was here when humanity arrived. Kale woke screaming. The sound tore through the chamber like a blade. Elias was moving before conscious thought caught up, hand on sidearm, body angled defensively, instincts honed over decades snapping into place. The scream cut off abruptly as Kale sucked in a sharp breath, eyes flying open. He stared straight at Caroline. "You're late," he rasped. Elias froze. The queen did not react outwardly, but something tightened in her posture. "You knew I was coming," she said. Kale laughed weakly. "You're always coming. You just don't remember how many times." Elias took a step forward. "Who are you?" Kale's gaze flicked to him, sharp despite exhaustion. "That depends," he said. "Who are you today?" Caroline raised a hand, halting Elias. "Answer the question." Kale closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they glowed faintly, not light, but reflection, like stars seen through deep water. "I am a listener," he said. "I hear echoes left behind when reality bends." "By whom?" Elias demanded. Kale swallowed. "By what?" The hum intensified. The cracked crystal column vibrated, lines of light racing along its fractures. Caroline exhaled slowly. "Tell us what you heard." Kale looked at her then, not with fear, not with reverence, but with something like pity. "It's waking up," he said. The queen did not sleep that night. Neither did Elias. They sat in silence within the private quarters, the faint constellation light tracing patterns across the walls. Outside, the Empire continued its orderly rotation. Fleets patrolled, courts schemed, billions lived and died unaware that something older than their history had stirred. "Why keep this secret?" Elias asked at last. Caroline did not look at him. "Because empires are fragile things. They collapse faster from panic than from invasion. And if this thing wakes..." She met his gaze. "Then panic will be the least of our problems." A chime sounded soft, internal. Caroline's eyes narrowed as data scrolled across her retinal display. "The High Council is requesting emergency audience," she said. "They believe I am ill." Elias almost smiled. "You are." "Yes," she agreed. "Terminally burdened." She rose. "You will accompany me," she said, quietly. "Into the council chamber?" "No," Caroline replied. "Into the lie." The resonance did not awaken violently. That was the last mistake the High Council made. There were no alarms at first. No tremors. No catastrophic surge of energy ripping through Aurelian Prime. The palace station continued its rotation with perfect grace, its artificial skies glowing in calibrated harmony. What changed was sound. Across the station, across the fleets, across the planet-bound relays, people began to hear things that were not there. A mother heard her child whisper from a room long sealed after a plague evacuation. A soldier heard the echo of an oath he had broken decades earlier. An admiral heard the silence of a battle she had ordered erased from history. And deep within the Queen's private quarters, the walls finally spoke back. Elias felt it first. Not pain, not fear, recognition. The stone beneath his feet pulsed with a rhythm older than language. The etched constellations on the walls flared, rearranging themselves, not into stars as they were, but as they had been, billions of years ago, before humanity had names for light. Kale collapsed to his knees, blood streaming from his nose as his eyes burned with reflected infinity. "It's fully awake now," he gasped. "It always wakes when a species believes it has won." Caroline stood unmoving at the center of the chamber, crownless, hands clenched at her sides. "The Empire will not survive panic," she said quietly. "No," Kale agreed. "But it might survive truth." The High Council forced entry moments later. They came with authority codes, armed escorts, and the arrogance of those who believed proximity to power made them its equal. The doors to the private quarters resisted them for exactly 3 seconds, long enough to make a point, before opening of their own accord. The resonance wanted witnesses. Counselors poured into the chamber and stopped dead. The walls no longer looked like walls. They were translucent now, revealing layers of buried architecture spiraling downward into impossible depths. The resonance vault yawned open beneath the floor, its cracked crystal column dissolved into a lattice of living light. Something vast moved within it. Not a creature. A memory. The oldest counselor found her voice first. "Your Majesty, what is this?" Caroline turned to face them. "This," she said, "is what we built our throne on." The resonance spoke then, not aloud, but directly into every mind present. Not words. Context. They saw it all. A universe young and violent. Species rising, burning, vanishing. Civilizations discovering faster than light travel and colliding like sparks in dry grass. And beneath it all, the resonance, an ancient construct, not alive, not dead, designed to observe collapse. It did not judge. It recorded. It amplified the unresolved, regret, ambition, denial, until civilizations tore themselves apart, then stored the echo as data. Humanity had not discovered it. Humanity had built its empire around it, unknowingly feeding it for centuries. "It doesn't want to destroy us," Elias said hoarsely. "It wants us to finish destroying ourselves." Kale looked up at the Queen. "Unless you end the pattern." The council erupted. Some screamed to shut it down. Some demanded weapons. Some fell silent, already broken by what they had been shown. Caroline raised her hand. Silence fell instantly. "I was born into this room," she said. "Not as a queen, but as a contingency." She turned toward the resonance. "The founders knew this day would come," she continued. "That one ruler would have to choose between empire and species." Elias stepped forward. "And you brought me here because you couldn't make that choice alone." Caroline met his gaze. "No," she said softly. "I brought you because you would make it against me if necessary." She stepped into the light. The resonance reacted immediately, light folding inward, structures realigning around her presence. Kale screamed. "Caroline, don't." "It responds to sovereignty," she said. "To continuity." Her voice echoed, not through amplification, but through meaning. "I dissolve the crown," she declared. "I end the lie of permanence. I choose survival over rule." The crown of the empire, hidden for millennia within the station's core, shattered. Not physically. Conceptually. Across the galaxy, every symbol of imperial authority flickered and went dark. Command hierarchies collapsed. Automated fleets powered down. Borders, artificial and absolute, ceased to exist. The resonance screamed. For the first time since it had been built, it encountered a variable it could not resolve. A ruler who refused to be recorded as victorious. The light imploded. The vault collapsed inward, not in destruction but in erasure, its accumulated echoes discharging harmlessly into the void between dimensions. When it was over, the chamber was silent again. Stone walls. Soft light. No hum. No whisper. Caroline fell. Elias caught her before she hit the floor. She smiled faintly. "Looks like I finally abdicated properly." Medical teams arrived too late to stop the inevitable. The resonance had not killed her, but severing herself from the crown had cost her the life it sustained. As she lay dying, she grasped Elias's hand. "Promise me something," she whispered. "Anything." "Keep the door closed," she said. "No more gods. No more shortcuts. I swear." She exhaled once. And the queen was gone. Epilogue. The room that remained. There was no coronation. There was no empire to inherit. In the years that followed, the galaxy fractured peacefully, painfully, imperfectly into independent systems forced to govern themselves without an immortal lie holding them together. Wars still happened, but they ended. The Queen's private quarters were sealed forever. Elias Wren became its last guardian, not a ruler, not a legend, just a man ensuring that what slept beneath the palace station never woke again. Kale vanished into obscurity, his gift fading as the resonance's echoes finally fell silent. And the room? The room remained. Empty. Quiet.
Honest.
A place where power once whispered and was finally told no.
The end.